You're now listening to the 11:30 podcast. Enjoy the show.
I'm from the city, DC, that's where I'm from. 11:30 podcast, Dre on Willsy is the one. Let's get it, yeah. Who with me? Let's get it, yeah. No, with me, yeah. I'm from the city, DC, that's where I'm from. Let's get it. 11:30 podcast, Dre.
Yo, what it do, everybody, man? I'm back at it. What's goody? Welcome everyone back to another episode of the 11:30 podcast. Yes, man, back at it. Appreciate everyone, man. That's definitely tuning in. Y'all already know it's your man Dre, aka Dre on Wheels. We here on YouTube on the 11:30 podcast YouTube channel, man. Speaking of the YouTube channel, y'all already know, y'all. If you haven't done so already, I don't know what you're waiting for, man. This will be a great time. So definitely hit the like button down below, man. Comment, share, and also definitely subscribe to the 11:30 podcast. Hit that notification bell as well. And also, don't forget to follow the 11:30 podcast on all social media platforms. All right, man. Yo, another episode to go. I got a cool guest, you guys, man. That's joining here on the 11:30 podcast this week. He's the co-founder of the White Rose community, you guys. Also, he's a sports and exercise medicine, and also, man, he's a public health physician. We're gonna be chatting with him. It's gonna be fun. My guy, Dr. Z, man, for real. It's real cool with me. We're gonna bring on my guy. How's it going? Dr. Z, how's it going?
It's going awesome, and thank you for having me here. It's been an excellent opportunity.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the invite and coming through here on the 11:30 podcast. How life treating you?
Life is great. Well, I'm hailing from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, in the sunny Caribbean. So yeah, we're having a sunny day.
All right. That's what's up. You said you from the Caribbean?
Yes, we're from the Caribbean.
Okay, man, that's awesome. Real awesome. Once again, Dr. Z, I appreciate you for coming through here on the podcast show this week, man. Before we get into everything, we're about to get into it. Tell everyone about yourself. You know, I like to have my guests, sort of take the floor, take the stage, and tell everyone about Dr. Z.
So I have been a physician for the last 20 plus years. I've worked in emergency medicine for 10 plus years. And while doing that, I worked volunteering with sports teams in Trinidad and Tobago and some other parts of the Caribbean. And throughout that time, I was pursuing my degrees in sports medicine, public health, and all of that. And while doing these jobs, a couple of things happened to me. First off, we have an obesity crisis in the Caribbean. And I was looking at my athletes and thinking, I'm working with these athletes and I'm seeing these high performance people doing these great jobs of maintaining their nutrition, their exercise. Why are we not using this to help the public? And over years of looking at this, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do something different. And so I started creating courses to help initially diabetics, but I eventually expanded them just to helping people to achieve their healthiest weight. That led to burnout, which I've been having for years. Being a physician, and physicians are some of the highest profession for burnout. And doing that, I realized that working with people, especially in my hospital or healthcare workers, the difficulty was that many of them were stressed and burnt out. And their journeys to weight loss and achieving a healthy lifestyle were being obstructed because of that level of stress. So I transitioned to now, because myself being burnt out, I worked on getting over it. I worked for years trying to recover. I now started to transition across to working in stress and burnout and helping with weight loss. And that's where I am today. Now I work with women especially, helping them to overcome burnout and stress. And in doing so, start on the road to achieving their healthiest weight and decreasing the impact of weight gain on like non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension. So that's my whole journey in a coconut shell.
Okay. I dig that. I think one thing I definitely want to tap into though, because it's not in just in the Caribbeans though, but I think that is a really good thing that you mentioned though. How obesity is playing a major factor in the Caribbeans, to um, athletes and just people in general and across the world here, and in the United States as well. And I, I I I think it's also, yes, it's what it's also about what you put in your body, and of course, exercise, take care of yourself, and everything. And I don't even want to ask the silly question of why obesity is taking over, but I really more so have the conversation about what are they putting in our foods. I think they're putting some crazy stuff in our foods to where it's like, even if you try to maybe eat healthy, I think the exercise is the best thing. But I think in this day, you don't even know what you eating now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And but what I've discovered, it's more than just what we're putting into our bodies and what exercise we're doing. It's
Okay.
all about the habits. So it
Mm,
was interesting when these weight loss drugs that were initially diabetes drugs, they still are, but they're using more and more of them for weight loss. When they first started using them for weight loss, they saw an interesting change. um, they saw people who started to lose the weight. And to get it straight, most of the drugs you stop losing weight after a period of time. And if you stop it, most people put back on the weight and sometimes more. But what they noticed was that people started changing their behaviors, right? So when you started losing the weight, they realized they started choosing more healthy foods. They started choosing more whole foods, less highly processed foods. And then they started changing behaviors like their exercise, their routines, their daily routines, their health routines started to shift. And they realized it's not just the drug was just a catalyst to the next step. And the ones who were really successful with the drug when they quit it was because they changed so many other things in their lives when it came to their health habits that they saw a change. So
mhm,
like I call it health stacking, where you take one health habit that you have to do, like brushing your teeth, and you stack another health habit on top of that. So now you brush your teeth and you do 5 minutes of yoga. You brush your teeth and you have a healthy meal or you go for some exercise. And you keep doing things like you do like journaling, gratitude, and you just start stacking these habits. And you realize over a period of time, you start shifting in the way you think, and that leads to a shift in the way you feel.
mhm. I like that. I like that. One thing you did mention though is habits though. I think, well, it's not even what I think though, but we are creatures of habit though. And you mentioned how, taking, the medicine that, some folks, was out here taking and, losing weight. And then once they lost weight, they started eating healthy and doing all this other stuff. Can you talk about also the importance of breaking that, a habit? Because, we are creatures of habit, and yeah, it's hard to maybe turn down that fried chicken, but it's also healthier, to eat something good, or take a walk or exercise like that. But yeah, how is it? It's not easy, basically. Breaking a habit, sort of you're used to when we are creatures of habit.
It isn't. And there was a recent study done a couple of years ago that demonstrated that habits take actually 66 days to a year to become
Mm,
new habits, to break
wow.
and become a new habit. So everybody thinks it's 21 days or 28 days or 30 days. No, that's just the beginning. You got to consistently repeat that habit over and over and over again for at least 66 days plus for it to become a daily habit, right? And I know this because I tried this on myself. Where I work in my hospital, there's a huge parking lot. So I wanted to get more steps in during my day. And trust me, I was on an unhealthy journey. I was burnt out, massive acid reflux, drinking too much Coke, too much coffee. I was
Mm,
just in a bad state. And I started shifting my habits. Well, one of them I wanted to shift was walking more, right? Just putting in a little bit more steps in a day. So I started parking further away from where I usually park in the hospital, the
mm,
furthest point I can find the parking lot. I'm doing that. It took me almost a year of consistently reminding myself to park there before it became a habit. And how I knew it became a habit is one day I was driving into work and I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. And I went and parked in my new parking spot and didn't even realize it. And I jumped out of the car and it was raining. And I go, oh, right. I wanted to park closer today. And I was like, oh. And I ended up parking where I had parked for the entire year. So that's how you develop habits. It's all about consistency and repetition, but you got to stick with it. You got to take it 66 days, a year. Don't get discouraged. I think that's what the problem is. A lot of people, after 3 months, 4 months of hitting the gym, changing a nutrition routine, they hit that plateau where the weight isn't going down anymore. They feel like they're not moving anymore, and then they lose heart and they quit. And then they go back to the old habits because they haven't become habits yet. The new ones haven't become habits yet. So it's easy to slip back. But if you keep with it, oh, you will see changes. I've worked with dozens of women, lots of my healthcare workers, and I'm seeing 42 pounds, 24 pounds, 50 pounds of weight loss in 6 months. And on to the day, they still come to me 2 years, 3 years after the fact and say, hey, I'm still doing it. Look at me. And I feel great. And that's where that little, I mean, everybody thinks it's a little key secret, but that's where it is. Just consistency.
Okay. I dig that. I dig that. So you said 66 days to a year. That's when a habit becomes a habit?
Yes, that's when it
Okay.
becomes a new habit. You switched over from the old to the new.
Okay, okay. So basically, okay, let's say I started this new habit of working out, going to the gym. So I have to do this habit from 66 days to a year, at least tops a year for it to become a habit. So and like how you said, consistency is definitely a key of doing a lot of stuff, but you have to be consistent with it. So all right, 3 months hit, and I'm like, man, you know what? I don't think this gym works, but I gotta just continue to remind myself and be consistent, to fulfill
Yes.
on the other end. Okay. I got you. I got you. I definitely like that. How this journey begin for you? Being a sports, being in sports and medicine and being a physician, and yeah, how this journey begin for you? Because I know you said you've been doing it for about 20 years or so, right?
Well, this journey for me started only about 4 years ago,
Okay.
where I decided I was burnt out, massively burnt out. I was working in the emergency department, not enjoying my job. I was just not getting the fulfillment I used to get from being in medicine. And then my boss gave me an opportunity to work with the staff, something I'd been preaching for years. Let me work with staff. Let me work with staff. Let me see if I can improve the health of people. And he gave me the opportunity, but then the pandemic hit and then we shut down. So suddenly there's a shift. I'm trying to get the staff in, but they're stressed out because of the pandemic. We're already overly stressed. Way before the pandemic, we were. So this just adds another layer of it. And I've been wanting to help people for a long time become healthier, and not
Okay.
in the extreme ways of, you got to do this uh, 10-month fasting program and all that stuff, but using simple techniques that you use in everyday life to just shift the way your mindset works into a healthier mindset. And so I started playing around with what I knew in nutrition, exercise, working with athletes, started putting together courses and doing some beta testing with the staff in my hospital. I also used my friends and family to come in and see how this works. And over a period of time, built a 7-week course where I realized at the beginning, I actually didn't know this was happening. I thought it was just showing people simple ways to shift their habits, but it became a mindset shift. And in 7 weeks, they went from thinking, I can't do this, to suddenly realizing, you know what, I'm doing this and seeing the change. And I realized it was a mindset shift. And in that 7 weeks, what I did was built a simple nutritional framework that builds a foundation of nutrition that I think everybody needs before you can go to the next level. So do you understand what you're putting in your body? Do you understand what the elements of your food are? Do you understand how to implement these little changes throughout the week so that you don't feel overwhelmed? Right? And that led to me going into helping diabetics initially, and then helping people who were overweight, and then going into stress management. In that journey, like your show is about how do you get through these journeys, how do you get, to the where you are. In that journey, I was burnt out, and I realized I was so badly burnt out that a little story happened where I was sitting in my office and I'm reading the New England Journal of Medicine. I'm reading this article where they're talking about burnout in professions, and it said healthcare workers are the top with burnout, right? And we were talking about doctors and the level of burnout. Now that was, I knew that was normal. We knew that. That wasn't the scary part. The
Right.
next step was they said about 1 to 2% of doctors have attempted or succeeded in committing suicide because of burnout. That wasn't scary either. We knew that. I had a couple of colleagues who tried that and they survived, luckily, but that's what happened to them. What was the scary part was when they mentioned this. They said of the doctors who have attempted suicide, 70% of them had never had a suicidal thought in their life. And I'm
Wow.
thinking to myself, I'm a person who's never had a suicidal thought to myself. I know I'm burnt out. And I'm sitting there, and at this time, I just had my second daughter was born. She was barely in her first year of life. My older daughter is now 4. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, could I be that doctor? And now here, think about it this way. These doctors left their jobs, got in their cars, jumped on a train, jumped on a bus, went home, and killed themselves or attempted to. Just like that. No thought, nothing. They just decided in that moment, I can't do this anymore. That was scary to me. I got up, I walked into my boss's office. I went to HR first, found out how much vacation I had. I had about 6 months. I went, I signed the paper, I got my boss to sign it. He was gracious enough to give me the time off. I told him I don't even know if I'm coming back. And I left. But then I did something really foolish. I went and tried to start a non-profit organization to help my countrymen. I'm originally from Guyana in South America, to find better lives. But I was burnt out, and then I went and got even more burnt out. And in 6 months, my company failed. I had one of my friends who invested in my company, lost it as investment. 6 months, that's it. And that was an eye opener for me. I was like, you know what? I need to stop. I need to reset. I need to do something different. So I started changing my own life. And I always tell people, you can't change the world unless you're willing to take care of yourself and change yourself. Right?
I like.
Yeah. And I tell my clients that all the time. In order to take care of everybody else in your family, your friends, your work, you got to be able to take care of yourself. And and that led to me then focusing on burnout, focusing on weight loss, seeing the link between the two. And that journey led to where we are today with the White Rose community, where one of my clients and colleagues came to me and she says, I have women coming into me and they're crying because they're going through menopause and there's no help. Nobody's out telling them what they can do. Nobody has any answers for them. And they're just suffering. They don't know what's happening. And she says,
Okay.
I liked what you did with me when you put me on the weight loss journey. I lost weight. I lost 42 pounds. My anemia from the menopause started to resolve. I wasn't having so much issues anymore. I feel better. Me and my husband are having a better relationship. He helped me start to exercise by putting out a punching bag so I can let out the anger. And that led to the formation of this. And then
Okay.
while doing this, I realized menopause is a form of burnout because burnout is 3 things: psychological, emotional, and physical. And menopause are all 3 of those things. So
Okay.
that's where our focus is now. From failure to trying to do something great for the world, that's where we're pushing for right now.
I really I like the story though. It's really inspiring though. From you, and you said you got burnt out. Obviously, 4 years ago, man. That was the pandemic. The whole COVID. Definitely going crazy, and I think that's real informative. When you were saying 70% of physicians and doctors who really never had a suicidal thought. and just go home and try to attempt suicide or whatnot. And and like how you also mentioned too, you got into this knowing that this could be a possibility, being a doctor and being burnt out and stuff like that. I think it's really saying, but it's also really saying, too, as well, where being a doctor is very it's a lot of pressure, especially it don't matter what type of doctor you're in, whether you're a surgeon or whatever. You probably see everything from left to right that comes in to the hospital, but I really commend you, for just taking a step back and saying, you know what, I don't want that for my future. And we're just gonna have to, do something totally different, taking that vacation, which was definitely needed though. But yeah, being burnt out is definitely a thing, man. One other thing I believe you spoke on too as well when you were just talking about menopause though. Can you speak on that too? Because definitely, of course, I mom, doesn't have flesh or whatever, and of course, my mother-in-law, she comes over. I ain't trying to put nobody business out there, but I know people who definitely
Yeah.
tune in and stuff. So yeah, can you speak on that? And I also know you're helping women navigate, of course, uh through raising awareness on menopause as well.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things I want to answer for you first before we get there,
Okay.
doctors, like most professions in the world, we don't enter expecting that we would get burnt out. We enter this profession thinking this is going to be an awesome journey for us. And then we get hit with everything else, not the medicine, not
Yeah.
the work, the bureaucracies, the paperwork, all that stuff just comes in. And I think as all professionals, and this isn't applied to just doctors alone, we need to take breaks and we need to start setting our times. So the Pomodoro principle, 25 minutes, 5 minutes break. Do it. It's amazing how it improves your productivity. Just taking
Mm.
that 5 minute break.
I,
But
I don't want to cut you off. I just want to say one thing. I think it also one thing it helps too is having support, having the emotional support, whether it's family members or your spouse too, because you get some people who lands all type of jobs where being a doctor, man, is very demanding. You could be on call or you work a lot of shifts, so you're not home a lot. And I think some doctors, especially when you got little kids, they growing up and you're always at work and wife, you want to see you. So you just like, what, I don't really want to take a break. I just want to keep working. So, and then eventually you're going to get burnt out. So yeah, I think
if
support
you
helps though.
if you're spinning that wheel, but you're not giving it a chance to switch gears a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah, yeah. And Trevor Noah talks about that, why friendships are so important in maintaining mental health. And honestly, I ask people, when was the last time you called a friend and said, hey, how are you doing? I would like to come out and just hang out with you for a few minutes. In the Caribbean, we call it liming. Let's go for a
Mhm.
lime, right?
Yeah.
So it is very important. He said relationships is a major part of your survival. We are people, we are a species that need to be connected. People who
Mhm.
spend any amount of time being lost in like the jungle or something, one of the biggest challenges they face is mental health because of being alone, right? So and that spins it nicely to menopause because a lot of the women who are going through menopause feel like they're alone. They feel like they're not being supported and they can't share how they feel with anybody else because nobody understands.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. The nurse I work with, Nurse Maria Nurse, she is a women's health nurse and she knows way more than this than I do. And when I started working with her, I started learning about menopause and what women are going through. And over the past year of working with these women and applying my sports medicine knowledge um, with what they're doing, I have learned so much about how these women feel, their lack of support, the lack of information there is out there. It's a big shift. I mean, come on, you're going from a hormonal change, a hormonal high where you have the estrogen and progesterone to no hormones. Basically, it's not exactly no hormones, but it's gotten so low that it shifts. And that change, like puberty, is a beautiful change. But for some reason, in our modern society, we push these women aside. When they used to be the matriarchs of our society, now
Mhm.
they're in a nursing home. And And then there's the shift of going through that change. And a lot of the women, even their daughters, like we had one session we were doing with a church, and one of the ladies who hosted the session, she said, I didn't even know my mom was going through this. I saw the change. I didn't know what she was happening. And it was happening right in front of me. I had no clue. Her mom didn't feel that she was able to share. So our community is all about community. We not only want to raise awareness, but we want to offer support, good advice, and a place where you can come and feel that you can share your experiences along with other women who are going through the same thing. In addition to that, we want to help you. One of the things that women complain about is intimacy. Like,
Mm,
what is it? The statistic was saying 30% of women blame menopause on their divorces, right? On divorce happening. Intimacy
okay.
falls apart because their husbands don't know what's going on. He doesn't quite understand it. The wife isn't explaining it because she doesn't understand it either. And all
Hmm.
of a sudden, you have this miscommunication, and everybody feels neglected, and it's a problem. So, we want to help raise awareness, not just the menopause change, which is a huge change, and it can last up to 10 years, starting as early. Some women start in their 40s, some even younger, and it can last well into their 50s and 60s. But also, all the aspects of that changes in midlife, changes in intimacy, changes in relationships, changes in retirement. Um, so, in a community like this, we are helping women through all aspects of that change, not just the physical, but the emotional and the psychological, in order to give them a chance to recover and take back their lives from what menopause may do.
Mm. I think that is that's very telling. One part that you mentioned where, you were talking about, the intimacy, and how 7 out of 10 women, blame menopause, for the reason, they're getting divorced or whatever like that, because, they don't even know how to explain it, and the men don't understand it at all. So it's like, how can women get that help? How can women receive and get that information and help to know, look at and be aware, be aware on the situation too, because like how you mentioned, divorces does happen, relationships kind of does end where, one doesn't really know and the other one trying to figure out, hey, why we not having sex no more, so uh yeah, so how can women, before that, before they reach that stage, they can, be aware and informative on menopause.
Certainly, and this is why we started this YouTube channel, The Healthy Reset. It's We do a live session every Tuesday night, and we discuss different topics on menopause. We've been running it for a few months now. We want to grow to become more connected to more of the world, so more women can come and have information shared with them. We're also in this on the Healthy Reset. We'll announce what's going on with the community, and what services we have available. Like, so for locally in Trinidad and Tobago, we do what my nurse does: pap smears and breast examinations. We make sure that your health is being taken care of. In addition to that, we want to rate it's the same 7 week weight loss course that I talked about, ultimate weight loss recipe. Um, and all of that you can find on the channel itself. So come sit in with us on a Tuesday night. That's usually 7 p.m. Eastern or Atlantic Standard Time, and listen in, give your input, give your advice. Share with us what you're going through, but also listen to the experts we bring on, so you can get a little bit more informed about what's going on in your menopause change. And if you want, you could always reach out to us. Um, Again, the email is on the YouTube channel. So you can always click on that email, send us a link, and we will respond to you in a timely fashion and see if we can answer your questions. Yeah, but come find us. The Healthy Reset, we're here to serve.
All right, I was muted. Okay. Another question I have on that as well too. You might get some, individuals, some women, who, feel, they might be shy, nervous, and they probably don't want to, uh share their story, publicly or with someone. But what type of advice, for maybe that woman that's tuning in this week on this week's episode, who just they don't want to have a divorce, they don't want to leave their partner, but of course menopause is definitely playing a factor, but they also want to keep the spark going on, meaning intimacy.
That's perfectly fine. I mean, many times we run this session, like we do it live on Zoom and on YouTube, and most of the women don't even come on camera, and that's fine.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have one or two women who will come and give their responses, give some advice, ask questions, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to sit in and just listen, take on the advice, and say, "Can I use this?" That's perfectly fine. Also, if you want to reach us to us, send us an email and we'll respond to you and we can have a one-on-one conversation with you with what's going on in your life. All of this can be remain completely confidential. In fact, you don't even have to use your real name. You could just sign into YouTube and have a alias and just
Okay.
sit in there. What we're here for is not necessarily making you, exposing you in any way, shape, or form, but just giving good quality advice that you can feel supported, you can feel encouraged, and you can feel that you're being um, listened to about what's going on. What we do look for is if you have questions, you can always WhatsApp us questions or send us an email, because the more questions we have is the more we can answer. We learn from our community. As much as they learn from us, we learn a lot from them. In the last year, we have transitioned so much from our learning and from the exposure we have had in this, like the issue with intimacy. When we first started this, we didn't even think that was an issue, and all of a sudden it's one of the biggest hot topics we encountered. So we had
Hmm.
to build we just started a challenge which we're now building right now, and how to improve intimacy in your relationship in 5 days. Right,
Okay.
and that
You, you,
you'll find.
you, you mind sharing a couple of tips with my listeners and viewers?
Sure. Well, first off, it starts off with a simple touch.
Mm.
Right, if you're having difficulty with your partner, with your relationship, simply sit, touch knees, fold your legs, touch knees, or sit close to each other in chairs, shut knees, and just look into each other's eyes. And one of the key things I tell people is to breathe. Whenever you're speaking, and it's great speakers will tell you this, if you want the audience to connect with you, get them to move with you. So if you're moving to the right, get them to move to the left. If you're moving to the left, get them to move to the right. If partners do this and they start synchronizing with each other, their breathing, their movements, they start to connect. And you spend a few minutes every day doing this, just as one exercise, and you suddenly see a connection starts to form. And then you realize you're now touching each other. You don't have to force it. Let's let it progress in its natural phase. It's like dating. When you first started dating, you didn't jump into bed with each other, did you? You had
Right,
to
right,
go out, you felt the
right.
chemistry, you held
Yeah,
hands, there was a kiss, it was a
yeah.
tentative kiss, and then there was more, and it kept progressing. And over a period of weeks to months, it leads to a full blown relationship. Treat it like
Mm.
that. You're dating again. So start by just simple gestures. Yes, you know each other intimately, but do you? And that's where you start. Get back to getting to knowing each other. When you put in children and work and
Mm.
responsibilities, oh my
Hmm.
goodness, you don't have time
Yeah.
for anybody else. So it's about just taking that time. It could be just 5 minutes a day. Just 5 minutes. Like I tell my clients, there's 176 hours in a week. I give them, and the first time they start working with me, 1 hour of workout to do. And I ask
Mm.
them, do you think you could find the time to work out for 1 hour? So in that 176 hours, do you think you could find 5 minutes for your partner and
Mm.
just sit with them and breathe? That's
Look
it.
at, you said 5 minutes. I need more than 5 minutes though, but I get you though. For all intents and purposes though, like I just feel as though, from my perspective, of course, we are creatures of habit, and yes, I got a little 2-year-old toddler boy. He's I don't even know the words to put, but I love him. But of course. being in a relationship and you got a little 2 year old and you got so many different responsibilities, you like, ah, shit, I just don't have time for it. But I think, we also, whatever we want to do or whatever we want to accomplish, or, we prioritize certain things that mean, a lot to us. Obviously, you got your kids, they gonna come first. But if you got a husband, your spouse, or wife, or whatever, I think she should be highly up there on that priority list, though. But different strokes for different folks. But yeah, 5 minutes though, I understand. But yeah,
It
that's
comes
just
back.
starting out.
It comes back to the same habits we were talking about. 66
Yeah,
days to a year. So you got to
yeah,
rebuild that habit. You had it
yeah,
before the kids came. Now you got to
yeah,
rebuild it. It's been 2 years. Guess what? That habit has changed. Now you have a new habit. Now you got to go back to rebuilding that habit. I know what you're going through. I have a 4 and a 7-year-old. My
yeah,
goodness, energy, absolute energy. It gives you no time for anything. But you
yeah.
got to really take that time to say, what is my priority? What is that habit? And one of my mentors said it. He says there's things that you refuse to budge on, you have rules on, and there's things you're really flexible on. And you can't be hard and fast about everything. You gotta be, so some things you're hard on, you're flexible, and that changes with life. So you
Mm,
gotta say, what is my priority? Is it my relationship with my spouse, with my friends? And And another quote I heard from the Trevor Noah show, where it said one of his co-hosts said, "When you're becoming successful, don't look at the success. Look at the relationships that you left in the dust behind you. Look at the friends you've lost for that success. How much can you get them back? Because they're the ones who are saying, you don't even want to spend time with me. But then 15 years, 20 years later, now you're a billionaire, now you're a millionaire, and you're alone. Why?
mm.
And there's a Harvard study that showed it. It's for 70 years it's been running. They said the most happiest people in the world is
How
because they
lonely?
have great relationships.
Okay, okay.
Happiest
Mm,
people, great relationships. The unhappy ones, terrible relationships.
mm,
They said back pain. They said they
mm,
have people who have severe back pain, but because their relationships is like nothing is wrong. And I have people who had no injuries, nothing on MRI showed. And their back pain was the worst. And when they looked at their relationships, they're divorced, their kids don't talk to them, they don't have any friends, and they're having the worst pain because
mm.
50% comes from up here. So, as you rightfully said, all the things you said, relationships, taking time off, building habits, all of them come together. And if you stack them all together, trust me, 100 years, easy. That's your life
Yeah.
expectancy.
Mm. I like that. I definitely do. Man, Dr. Z, man, what keeps you motivated? What inspires you now? After starting a new journey in your life, man, and obviously being, a doctor and everything. What keeps you going? What inspires you?
Honestly, consistency. Um, I've been for the last 4 years changing my health habits, changing my motivations. So I have this. In the mornings, I wake up at 5 a.m. I do a little bit of yoga. Do an hour of power work where I get creative. I tap into that mind. But then I sit down and I do a little bit of gratitude work, some meditation. I take some time to really breathe, right? And then I pray. And putting all of those together really, with the gratitude especially, it really makes me feel energized. Like I built my energy in the mornings. Now I'm
Okay.
energized to go for the day. So when I encounter people, I have energy for you, right?
Hmm.
But then you can't spend all the energy. So you got to save some of it.
Yeah,
Because when you
you're
get
right.
home, you got to give some of that to your family too.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
So that's where breaks come in. That's why I say Pomodoro. I only started using this in the last 3 months. That 5 minute break is a really long time, and you don't realize how long it is until you do it for the first time. But that 5 minutes puts you in such a state. So instead of doing 8 hours of work, now you're doing three, and you have
Hmm.
more time for things you want to do. So you have to work. We all have to
Yeah,
pay bills. We got to
yeah.
feed family. Why not incorporate work into your daily routine? So I tell everybody, every weekend for the last 20 years, I've gone to the beach. Every weekend, right? And my daughters, from the time they were babies, have been on the beach for the majority of their lives. 52 weeks in a year, They've gone 40 weeks, right? And that is something I protect every weekend. I was like, we're going somewhere, going to the beach, we're going to spend time together. And we put the effort into it, and it's translated to a relationship I could never replace with my kids.
I like that. I definitely like that. You definitely gotta prioritize, man, the stuff that means a lot to you, in life. You like you said, your kids going to the beach, man. I think that is very important, just getting out of your comfort zone and just, taking a breath of
Or,
fresh air, just exhaling, in
or
a
change
different
or change your comfort
listen.
zone.
Yeah, change your comfort zone. There you go. There you go. Stole the words out my mouth, man. I definitely dig it. I definitely dig it. Okay, you guys, man, we gonna roll on here on the 11:30 podcast show. We're gonna keep it moving on. You guys, man, it's time for the 11:30 podcast. All right, Dr. Z, it's time for the hot seat. I got 5 questions for you, and we're gonna roll with it. You ready?
Ready.
All right. What has been the most rewarding? What has been the most rewarding thing about being a physician, a health physician?
Seeing people change. I'll give you an example. I had a lady I was working with for the first 4 weeks. And she came in one day and she was complaining that her weight hasn't been changing. She was, let's say 200 pounds, and she kept going 204, 202, 200. Wasn't a change. And then during the conversation, she mentions, she's like, but today I came out and my daughter says she saw me wearing this top. And she says, wow, I haven't seen you in that top in the last 3 years, Mom. Wow, it looks really good on you. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I haven't worn this top in 3 years. It couldn't fit me. 4 weeks into my program, she puts on a top that couldn't fit her, that had space under the arms, that was so tight she couldn't wear it before. And she's worried about the weight. And she had noticed that she had lost so much fat mass that she could fit into the top she couldn't wear for 3 years before. I love that change.
Okay.
When that epiphany hits them of, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah.
That's the change.
Okay. Hey, look at that's definitely dope. Definitely trying to lose some weight. You've been trying to get off for some time, man, and you got it off. Okay. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
There's a small island off of Grenada called Carriacou. It got hit by a hurricane a couple of years ago, got real damage. This year actually. But it's one of the most beautiful islands I've ever been in my limited travels. And absolutely gorgeous, beautiful people, great fish, great seafood, and it's right just off the coast of Grenada. Absolutely wonderful. Go there if you can.
Okay.
Cool.
I dig it. Okay. Do you have any regrets? If so, why?
Regrets are many. I've lived sometimes the career choices I made to get where I am today. I think I could have done a lot better at some of them. I not listening to my dad. He kept telling me to go into different professions in medicine, and I probably would have been at a better place. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, I should have listened to his advice.
Okay, cool. All right, kind of a fun question I like to ask though. If you had a warning label on you, what would it say?
He might be crazy.
He might be crazy. Okay.
That's what my wife tells me.
I dig it. I think that's what all our wives just tell us. Hey, we tripping off you. I think you crazy, something like that. Okay. All right. Last question. What has been? If you could share any advice for someone who maybe is trying to, being a health physician, because I know earlier in the show you mentioned how 70%, of doctors who just, not knowingly, really, attempted, suicide. What advice would you give for new upcoming health physicians who want to follow in that footstep of being a doctor?
What you practice in your 20s and 30s when it comes health-wise translates to how you live in your 40s and 50s. There's a recent study that showed that in order to avoid hypertension in your 40s and 50s, you actually have to exercise twice the amount that's recommended today, which is 150 minutes a week, for to avoid it. So as a young person, your health is one of your prized commodities. As a young doctor coming up, it's it's brutal. I mean, the training, the residencies, it's a lot of work. But if you implement good exercise, if you implement good nutrition, you will set yourself up for success in the long run that you would have never gotten before. And I honestly attribute that to myself. I've been playing sports all my life. I wasn't very good at any of them, but I played sports all my life. And that is what helped me not become overweight, not develop any problems with heart disease and all that stuff. Because throughout my career, I'd still put 2 to 3 days into playing intense sports, right? And the nutrition was terrible, but because of that sports constant attribute, I saw I'm 50 years old and I'm seeing the results of my hard work for the last 30, 40 years. So
Okay.
put it in time now.
Okay, gotcha. All right, man. Look at Dr. Z. I appreciate you for coming through here on the 11:30 podcast show. It was great having you on. Great conversation. Really, really informative. I thank everyone for tuning in. All the links will be down below in the description. Make sure you go visit Dr. Z website, follow him on social media, and all that great stuff. Even if you're a woman, man, dealing with menopause, definitely follow him and visit his website for more information. But before you go, any questions? Any thing you would like to say?
No, this was awesome. Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure being here. But I really look forward to the conversation. I was looking forward to since you reminded me yesterday.
All right. Cool. Like I mentioned, the links will be down below in the description, you guys. Dr. Z, it was awesome chatting with you. All right, you guys, man, here that's watching on YouTube, sit tight. We're going to take a quick break, man. Dr. Z was awesome. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap up the show. We got the WTF woman and more, man. Don't move. You're listening and you're watching to the 11:30 podcast.
DC is unique. We match other world-class cities pound for pound in dining, nightlife, arts, culture, theater, sports, outdoor activities, green spaces, and the list goes on and on. But nowhere else can compete with our monuments, our museums, and memorials, and no other city has as many free things to do. Add it all up, and DC's diversity of experiences is truly unmatched. There's only one DC.
On the 11:30 podcast show, appreciate everyone sticking with me throughout the break. Yo, Dr. Z, it was real fun having you on, my guy, chatting with you. Great conversation, man. I'm talking really great, man. I was doing some of my research, my homework actually before the show, and I was like, okay, he's a health physician. Let's see how this one goes, man. But hey, I've been doing this for about going on 5 years in December, about a month now. In a month it'll be December, it'll be 5 years. I really can't predict how these episodes are going to go. Sometimes in the beginning I tried to dictate and try to navigate it, but just let it go with the flow, man. It was real awesome. All the links are down below, you guys, so make sure you go visit Dr. Z website and make sure you go follow him on all social media platforms, man. Yo, before the break, man, I said before we head on out of here, let's get into it. It's time for the WTF moment of the week. Yes. WTF moment of the week, man. Yo, man. So much shit going on in the world. But y'all heard about the Mendez brothers. The Mendez brothers, they also got They got like maybe like 5 specials out right now. I think I'm over exaggerating though, but there's a big one out that's on Netflix that came out, I believe, a month and a half ago, a month ago, where the Mendez brothers, man, who actually unalived their parents back in, I believe it was the 70s or the 80s, something like that. And the whole story came out about how the brothers was being molested by their father, and they told the mother and everything, and the mother just brushed it off, ignored them or whatever. I don't, agree or, be with them. Like, man, you should, X out your parents just because, they just ignoring you, like, come on, man. That's a tough jump. And then a part of the show, I was like, man, is these guys lying or they're trying to get out of life, out of prison? Because that's what one thing I was thinking. I said, these dudes about to face life in prison. They gonna hit every angle they possibly can, though. But however, even if that was the case of fact, man, that dog daddy up here, funneling with me, and I'm telling mommy, and mommy ain't doing a damn thing, dog. Look, oh man, that's crazy though. But I think also too with social media, with everybody got a podcast, you got a criminal podcast, they doing their investigation and everything like that. You got some people out here feel as though they're innocent. They deserve parole now. At least they're eligible for parole. Now and it's crazy. Like I said, I'm not taking anybody's sides here. I think that's WTF all the way, man. It's a show that's on Netflix called Unsolved Mysteries. It was a show that came on television back in the days. Now Netflix picked it up, and they have these episodes where they reveal or try to come up with. Actually, they reveal these cold cases, and it's an unsolved mystery, and they need the public to help them out, and the public sort of helps them out with with social media, now it's all over the place. It's not just like a newspaper. It's not just like, the radio or television. Now, we are using one of the top #1 streaming platforms in the world right now, which is Netflix, though. But yeah, man, it's crazy. I say that's WTF, man. If you guys ever heard about that, man, check this out.
The Menendez brothers. Their attorney is now seeking clemency for Eric and Lyle from California Governor Gavin Newsom. Matt Gutman joined us with if they could get out of prison by Thanksgiving. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Michael. And that's what the brothers' attorney Mark Garagos says he's aiming for. The brothers' release by Thanksgiving, and his latest effort focuses on appealing to Governor Newsom for clemency. We understand that the paperwork for clemency is being filed. The governor's office telling me clemency petitions are confidential and they're not weighing in on it yet. Now, the Menendez brothers are 35 years into a sentence of life without parole for the 1989 shotgun murders of their parents, and clemency from Governor Newsom would change the brothers' sentence, but not their conviction for murder. Now, last week, LA's district attorney recommending resentencing after new evidence prompted him to re-examine the case. The DA telling me he does not believe the convictions should be overturned. The case has now been moved to the Van Nuys courthouse, where the original murder trial was held, and juries for both brothers were hung, resulting in mistrials. The Menendez brothers never denied killing their parents, but insisted they acted in self-defense after claiming they suffered years of sexual abuse at the hands of their father and feared for their lives. Now, if a judge agrees to resentencing their case based on the DA's recommendation, it still requires the sign-off of the California Parole Board and the state's governor, Gavin Newsom, a process that could take a year, guys.
WTF, man. WTF all the way, man. If they get parole, man, hey, kudos to them, man. Kudos to them. Yo, man, it's been a fun show, crazy show, man. A real good show, man. I tell you, man. But that was a crazy WTF moment. Dr. Z, thank you for coming through here once again on the 11:30 podcast show this week. Real great chatting with you, my guy. Keep doing your thing, man. I love the hustle. Really love the hustle. And also, man, you got to take time for yourself, man. Really take time for yourself. My man said, I'm going to the beach every week. So we want to have all this, animosity and stress going on. Wifey talking about I'm crazy and stuff. I feel you, Dr. Z. But yo, man, another episode is in the books, man. Yo, I'm about to roll on out of here. And we're gonna see you guys on the next episode of the podcast show. You guys, I thank everyone for supporting the show, liking it. Once again, man, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the 11:30 podcast right here on YouTube. You guys, man. Yo, until next time, yo, be safe, be easy, be smooth. Give all the glory to God, man. Won't He do it? Yo, it's your man Dre, aka Dre on Wheels. Until next time, you guys, man. I'm out. Peace.